For me, however, the supreme example of what early Filipinos accomplished before the coming of our Spanish colonizers can be found in the mountains of the Cordillera region in the province of Ifugao. This is where I near the end of my journey. The rice terraces of the Philippine Cordilleras demonstrate what our forefathers achieved through determination and hard work by conquering an impossibly difficult environment because they had to plant rice.
What happened was, each family built their own terraces. But it was not done by a central authority. It's these little families working their own plots, and slowly, as they develop terraces, it covered mountainsides. Now it looks monumental to us, a human achievement. But actually, it started with one man trying to feed his family.
Indeed, the rice terraces are a very special place. It is one of the last remaining examples in the world where nature and culture have joined together to produce an incredibly beautiful landscape. It is a monument to life. This is also a monument that links the early Filipino with the outside world.
And we see this in the archaeological record.
Dr. Stephen Acabado of the University of Guam represents a new generation of archaeologists who have been looking into this historical period of Ifugao and the origins of the rice terraces.
We hope to document a pre-Hispanic Ifugao village, and this will be the very first one in Philippine history and archaeology. We chose the old Kiangan village as the first site for the Ifugao archaeological project because of legends and customary songs or chants, the Alim and the Baltong, mentioning the old Kiangan village as the first Ifugao village. And what's interesting is we are finding bowls that are copies of tradeware ceramics, and that indicates that the people who settled here had interactions with the lowlanders. Based on this and landscape modeling that I've been doing for the past 10 years, I think that the Ifugaos who finally settled this region were already rice producers. They were probably living in somewhere in Nueva Vizcaya or Isabela, and then when the Spanish started their push to the north, some of them went up and joined the villages that were already here, small-scale villages. And since they were rice eaters, they started producing or cultivating rice. And they already have the technology to construct rice terraces. Well, we think that the rice terraces, at least what I've found so far, including Banawe, and the artifacts that we find here, my conservative estimate, the terraces would be about 750 years old.
It has been almost a decade since I stood alone on this very spot to marvel at this World Heritage Site, which is unparalleled in the world for its sheer beauty and scale. This time around, I'm returning with a traveling companion, Joy Mananghaya, one of the few professional heritage specialists in the country who has set high standards for the practice of conservation. She is also a very respected technical advisor for ICOMOS, the international NGO that advises the UNESCO World Heritage Committee on cultural heritage issues. Joy is the perfect person to talk to about the terraces and how the Ifugao community worked together for 12 years until the terraces were removed from the World Heritage in Danger list in 2012.
I think we should put emphasis on the fact that it was the people working in the fields that made it possible to remove the site from the list of World Heritage in Danger. We also would like to acknowledge the work of our national government. They have helped a lot, and the local government, in fact.
The World Heritage Committee paid the Philippines the highest compliment by pointing out that the rice terraces stands out as one of the rare global examples of achieving conservation to a high level through local community efforts. One of the key figures responsible for maintaining this mindset is Representative Teddy Baguila Jr.,
I'm happy that at this time we were able to get national attention finally. Investments into the province of Ifugao focus on the rice terraces based on the conservation plan which we crafted in 2004. The master plan which we finalized underwent a lot of consultations with the farmers themselves, the tribal leaders, the village elders, and the local chief executives.
My trip to Ifugao also includes a meeting with Manny Dulawan, whom I met many years ago. From him, I have imbibed what it is to be Ifugao. He tells me his thoughts about the future of the rice terraces and the culture he so dearly treasures.
After this length of time, and the fact that some older people have already gone outside of the province, they no longer are caring for their own rice fields. And so instead of coming back to the village to work on the rice fields, many of our families have migrated to the lowlands. When we adopted Christianity, we no longer practice these traditional rites for sickness, for agricultural rights, for priesthood rights. Very rare do they have some Ifugao do that.
Preserving heritage is actually dependent also on meeting people's needs and expectations. Aside from exploring more economic options for rice terraces of farmers, we really have to still strengthen the advocacy for appreciation and culture, and how our ties to the rice terraces also helps us strengthen our family ties. And that to me is challenging because it's not quantifiable in terms of economic terms.
As we visit the various rice terraces sites, Joy and I are heartened to see that Ifugao culture is alive and well, and that a new generation of Ifugao are being taught in schools about the importance of preserving their heritage.
Because at the end of the day, the rice terraces will not be there if there is no balance, if we only think about development, but we don't think about where we came from and what we are all about, our identity as people.
As I end my journey, I find myself back at the National Museum to view its priceless archaeological treasures. But now I do so with a better understanding of their significance in telling the story of our origins, our rich cultural heritage, and ultimately, our identity as a people.
We are learning that the Philippines is more central to the history of this part of the world than most people initially thought. It is a popular notion that just because you have 7,100 islands, you have 7,107 beaches. That's not just what the Philippines is about. The Philippines is, in fact, a treasure trove of cultural discovery.
In annotating Morga's book, Rizal also wrote that to understand the soul of a nation, it is necessary to open the book of its past.
If we don't learn from our past, then we cannot move forward, as Rizal said.
He was approaching the problem of trying to show the greatness of the Filipino past by using a scientific apparatus. And in this, I think he was successful.
Now, if Rizal knew that the centuries before the 16th century, he could now tell so much about those cultures, ancestral Filipinos, then the more that he has rested his case.
So Rizal was right after all. We Filipinos, before the coming of our colonizers, did in fact have a highly advanced culture, although not in terms that Europeans would have considered as civilized.
If wearing silk and wearing gold is being civilized, then we were civilized. But then that's part of our culture.
Filipino culture is the wellspring of national and global well-being. And to realize this, we have to have pride in our heritage, in being Filipinos. Because according to Dr. Hocano, the anthropologist, if you are proud of your country, you will be committed to it. And commitment brings about excellence. So that we will really be able to develop in a sustainable way, because cultural diversity, cultural productivity is really the basis of sustainable development.
I hope you can join me in our next episode as I go on another journey to uncover the stories behind our national treasures.